There are prophecies that governments tried to bury, visions so dangerous that those in power wanted them erased from history. And tonight, you are about to discover one of them. A woman who predicted the assassination of a president. A woman who saw the rise and fall of nations decades before they happened. A woman whose final warnings about America and a man named Trump were never meant to reach your ears. But here we are, and what you are about to hear will change the way you see everything happening right now. Her name was Jeane Dixon, and before she died, she left behind prophecies that are unfolding at this very moment. Stay with me until the end, because what she predicted about the next few years will send shivers down your spine. It was a cold morning in November 1963. The world was about to witness one of the most shocking moments in modern history. But 7 years earlier, a woman sat in her home in Washington, D.C., trembling. She had just seen something that would haunt her forever. She saw the president. She saw him in a motorcade. She saw the blood. She saw everything. Jeane Dixon tried to warn them. She told everyone who would listen. She begged people to protect him, but nobody believed her. And then it happened. President John F. Kennedy was shot. The world stopped. And suddenly, everyone remembered the woman who had warned them 7 years before it happened. That woman was Jeane Dixon, and that prophecy made her the most famous psychic in America. But what most people do not know is that this was just the beginning, because Jeane Dixon did not only see the past, she saw far into the future. And what she saw about America in the 21st century was terrifying. She saw a man rise into power, a man who would divide the nation like never before, a man whose name would echo through history. And she warned that this man would bring America to the edge of something catastrophic. Could that man be Donald Trump? Keep listening, because the connections are impossible to ignore. Jeane Dixon was not like other prophets. She did not live in caves or speak in riddles. She lived among the powerful. She walked the halls of the White House. She advised presidents. She dined with the elite. And she saw things that were never supposed to be revealed. Her gift was not learned. It was born with her. From childhood, she could see events before they unfolded. She could feel the energy of future disasters. And as she grew older, her visions became stronger and more precise. By the time she reached adulthood, Jeane Dixon had become a trusted advisor to some of the most powerful people in the world. Politicians sought her counsel. Business leaders asked for her guidance, and world leaders listened when she spoke. Because again and again, her predictions came true. She predicted the partition of India. She predicted the deaths of world leaders. She predicted wars and natural disasters with eerie accuracy. And then she began to see something even more disturbing. She began to see the future of America. In the 1980s and 90s, Jeane Dixon became obsessed with a vision. She saw America in the 21st century descending into chaos. She saw massive protests in the streets. She saw families turning against each other. She saw violence erupting in cities across the nation. And at the center of all this turmoil, she saw a man, a wealthy businessman, a man who would rise to the highest office in the land, a man whose words would ignite fires of division that would burn for years. She described him in chilling detail. She said he would be a man of great wealth, a man who had never held political office before, a man who spoke in bold and controversial ways, a man who would promise to restore greatness but would leave the country more fractured than ever. She said this man would come to power during a time of great uncertainty, and she said that his presidency would mark the beginning of something far darker. Does this sound familiar to you? Because when Donald Trump descended that golden escalator in 2015 and announced his candidacy for president, many people who remembered Jeane Dixon's prophecies felt a cold chill run down their spines. Was this the man she had warned about decades earlier? But the prophecy did not end there. Jeane Dixon saw beyond his rise to power. She saw what would happen during his time in office, and she saw what would come after, and what she described as happening right now in ways that are impossible to deny. Jeane Dixon warned that this man would create a cult of personality unlike anything America had ever seen. She said his followers would be fiercely loyal, willing to defend him no matter what evidence was presented against him. She said his opponents would view him not just as a political rival but as an existential threat to democracy itself. She said that this division would not heal. It would only grow deeper and more dangerous with each passing year. Look around you right now. Can you honestly say she was wrong? Families are torn apart over politics. Friends no longer speak to each other. The very fabric of American society is fraying, and at the center of it all is one man whose name dominates every conversation, every news cycle, every debate. Donald Trump has become exactly what Jeane Dixon predicted, a figure who divides not just politically, but emotionally, spiritually, and psychologically. But here is where the prophecy becomes even more disturbing. Jeane Dixon did not just predict division, she predicted violence. She saw riots in American cities. She saw government buildings under attack. She saw bloodshed and chaos on a scale that had not been seen since the Civil War. And she warned that all of this would be triggered by a single event, an event that would shake the nation to its core. On January 6, 2021, the world watched in horror as a mob stormed the United States Capitol. The seat of American democracy was breached for the first time in over 200 years. People died. Lawmakers fled for their lives. And the man at the center of it all was Donald Trump, whose words just hours earlier had set the stage for the violence that followed. Jeane Dixon had seen this decades before it happened. She had warned that the businessman president would lead America to the brink of civil conflict. And on that dark January day, her prophecy came terrifyingly close to reality. But the most chilling part of Jeane Dixon's vision is not what has already happened. It is what she said would come next. She warned that the violence of January 6th was not the end, it was only the beginning. She said that in the years following the businessman's presidency, America would face a period of unprecedented instability. She saw protests turning into armed conflicts. She saw state governments defying federal authority. She saw the possibility of secession and civil war becoming real topics of conversation. And she said that all of this would be accelerated by one man's refusal to accept defeat. Right now, as Donald Trump campaigns for the presidency again in 2024, the nation is more divided than ever. Polls show that millions of Americans believe the country is headed towards civil war. Political violence is on the rise. Trust in institutions is collapsing. And the man who Jeane Dixon warned about decades ago is once again at the center of it all. Is this just coincidence? Or is something far deeper at play? Jeane Dixon believed in destiny. She believed that certain events were preordained, written into the fabric of time itself. And she believed that certain individuals were chosen by fate to play pivotal roles in history, whether for good or for evil. She said that the businessman president was one of these chosen figures, a man whose rise to power was inevitable, a man whose impact on America would be felt for generations, and a man whose ultimate legacy would be one of destruction and transformation. But Jeane Dixon also saw something else. She saw that the chaos caused by this man would not destroy America permanently. She saw that out of the darkness would come a great awakening. She saw people rising up and demanding change. She saw a new generation refusing to accept the divisions of the past. And she saw the possibility of rebirth, of renewal, of a nation reborn from the ashes of its own collapse. But she warned that this transformation would only come after great suffering, after great loss, after a period of darkness so profound that many would lose hope. Are we in that period of darkness right now? Are we living through the prophecy that Jeane Dixon warned about? And if so, what comes next? Jeane Dixon died in 1997, but before she passed, she recorded a series of final predictions. These predictions were sealed and only released to a select few. But over the years, fragments of these final prophecies have leaked out, and what they reveal is both terrifying and hopeful. She predicted that the businessman president would return to power. She said he would win the presidency again, but that his second term would be far more chaotic than his first. She said that, during this time, America would face external threats unlike anything it had seen before. She spoke of conflicts with foreign powers. She spoke of economic collapse. She spoke of natural disasters that would devastate entire regions. And she said that through all of this, the businessman president would remain defiant, unwilling to compromise, unwilling to unite. But she also saw something unexpected. She saw betrayal. She saw people close to this man turning against him. She saw allies becoming enemies. She saw his empire beginning to crumble from within. And she saw him facing justice in ways he never anticipated. She said that before the end, he would stand trial. She said that secrets long hidden would be revealed. And she said that the truth about his past, his business dealings, and his actions in office would finally come to light. Right now, Donald Trump faces multiple criminal investigations. He has been indicted on charges ranging from election interference to mishandling. classified documents. He is fighting legal battles on multiple fronts, and many who once stood by him are now distancing themselves. Is this the betrayal Jeane Dixon foresaw? Is this the beginning of the end? She predicted. But the prophecy does not stop there. Jeane Dixon warned that even if the businessman president falls, the damage has already been done. She said that the forces he unleashed would continue long after he is gone. She said that the division, the anger, the distrust would take years, perhaps even decades, to heal. And she said that future leaders would struggle to restore unity because the wounds are too deep, the scars too permanent. This is the America we are living in right now. A nation where truth is subjective, where facts are debated, where reality itself seems to shift depending on which side you are on. Jeane Dixon saw all of this coming. She warned us, but we did not listen. Yet there is still hope, because Jeane Dixon also predicted that from this chaos would emerge a leader unlike any before. A leader who would not come from the traditional political establishment. A leader who would rise from the people themselves. A leader who would speak truth in a time of lies. A leader who would heal in a time of division. She said this leader would be young, energetic, and fearless. And she said that when this leader emerges, the nation would finally begin to heal. Could that leader be someone we have not yet heard of? Could they be preparing right now, waiting for the right moment to step forward? Or could they already be among us, working quietly behind the scenes, building a movement that will change everything? Jeane Dixon did not give a name. She did not give a date. But she said we would know them when we see them. She said their words would resonate with truth, their actions would inspire hope, and their leadership would remind America of what it once was and what it could become again. But before that leader emerges, Jeane Dixon warned, America must go through the fire, and that fire is burning right now. We are living in the prophecy. Every headline, every protest, every court case, every political battle is part of the vision she saw decades ago. And the question is not whether her prophecy is coming true. The question is, what are we going to do about it? Jeane Dixon believed that prophecies were not set in stone. She believed that the future could be changed if enough people chose to act. She said that awareness was the first step, that understanding what is coming gives us the power to alter the course. But she also warned that time was running out, that the window for change was closing, and that if we did not act soon, the darkest parts of her vision would become inevitable. So what can you do? What can any of us do in the face of such overwhelming prophecy? Jeane Dixon said the answer was simple. Choose unity over division. Choose truth over lies. Choose compassion over hatred. Choose hope over fear. She said that every individual action matters. Every word we speak, every choice we make, every moment we decide to build bridges instead of walls, we are changing the future. We are rewriting the prophecy. But she also warned that evil forces were working against this change, that there were those who benefited from division, who profited from chaos, who thrived on fear. She said these forces would do everything in their power to keep America divided, to keep people fighting each other instead of uniting against the true threats. And she said that the businessman president was just one tool being used by these forces, that he was not the cause but a symptom, that removing him from power would not solve the deeper problem. This is the hardest truth to accept, that even if Donald Trump disappears from the political stage tomorrow, the divisions he represents will remain. The anger will remain. The distrust will remain. Because these things were already there, simmering beneath the surface, waiting for someone to ignite them. And Jeane Dixon saw this too. She saw that America's problems were not about one man, but about a nation that had lost its way. A nation that had forgotten its founding principles. A nation that had prioritized power over justice, wealth over equality, and winning over truth. And she warned that unless America remembered who it was supposed to be, the prophecy would continue to unfold. The violence would escalate, the divisions would deepen, and the nation would eventually tear itself apart. But she also said that it did not have to end this way, that there was still time, that the future was still unwritten, and that we, the people living through this moment, had the power to change the outcome. So here we are, decades after Jeane Dixon first saw these visions, living through every moment she predicted. The businessman, president, the division, the violence, the chaos, the betrayal, the legal battles, all of it is unfolding exactly as she said it would. And now we stand at a crossroads. We can continue down the path of destruction, letting anger and fear guide our choices, or we can choose a different path, a path of healing, of unity, of truth. Jeane Dixon said that the choice was ours. The prophecy was not fate but a warning, a chance to change course before it is too late. And she said that those who heard her message had a responsibility to act, to speak up, to stand for what is right, to refuse to be swept away by the tide of hatred and division. She said that every voice matters, every action counts, and that together we have the power to alter the future. But time is running out. The prophecy is accelerating. Events are unfolding faster than anyone anticipated. And the question is no longer if Jeane Dixon was right. The question is, what are we going to do with this knowledge? Are we going to sit back and watch as everything she predicted comes to pass? Or are we going to stand up and fight for a different future? Because here is the final truth that Jeane Dixon left us with. She said that America was always meant to be a beacon of hope for the world, that it was founded on principles of freedom, justice, and equality, that it was meant to be a place where people from all backgrounds could come together and build something greater than themselves. But she also said that America had strayed from these ideals, that it had become corrupted by greed, divided by hatred, and weakened by complacency. And she said that if America did not return to its founding principles, it would fall, not from external enemies, but from internal collapse, from its own inability to live up to what it claimed to be. And the businessman president, Donald Trump, represents the ultimate test of these principles. He represents the question: can a democracy survive when truth becomes optional? Can a nation hold together when its leader prioritizes personal loyalty over national interest? Can justice prevail when power protects itself at all costs? These are the questions America is being forced to answer right now. And the answers will determine the future, not just of one nation, but of democracy itself around the world. Jeane Dixon saw all of this. She saw the test. She saw the struggle. She saw the pain. But she also saw the possibility of triumph. She saw that if America could survive this moment, if it could emerge from the darkness with its principles intact, it would become stronger than ever before. It would inspire other nations. It would show the world that democracy can endure even the greatest challenges. And it would fulfill the destiny it was always meant to achieve. But that outcome is not guaranteed. It requires all of us to choose it, to fight for it, to demand it. And that starts with understanding the truth, with seeing clearly what is happening, with recognizing the patterns that Jeane Dixon warned about and refusing to be swept up in them. It starts with asking ourselves, am I part of the problem or part of the solution? Am I contributing to division or to unity? Am I spreading fear or hope? These are not easy questions, but they are necessary ones, because the prophecy is not just about Donald Trump or America. It is about all of us, about the choices we make every single day, about the world we are creating for future generations, and about whether we have the courage to change course before it is too late. Jeane Dixon's final message was one of both warning and hope. She said that darkness would come, but it would not last forever. She said the storm would rage, but eventually it would pass. She said that those who held on to truth and compassion through the difficult times would be the ones to rebuild what was broken. And she said that from the ashes of division would rise a new America, stronger and more united than ever before. But only if we choose it, only if we fight for it, only if we refuse to give up hope. So as you sit here tonight, listening to these words, ask yourself, what role will I play in this prophecy? Will I be someone who stood up when it mattered? Someone who chose truth over lies, unity over division, hope over fear? Or will I be someone who watched from the sidelines, too afraid or too apathetic to act? The choice is yours. The future is unwritten, and the prophecy is still unfolding. Jeane Dixon tried to warn us. She gave us decades to prepare, and now we are living through everything she predicted. The businessman president, the chaos, the division, the violence, the betrayal. It is all happening right now, exactly as she said it would. But the story is not over yet. The final chapter has not been written, and you, right now, in this moment, have the power to influence how it ends. Will America descend into the darkness Jeane Dixon feared, or will it rise to fulfill the destiny she believed was still possible? The answer depends on what we do next, on the choices we make, on the actions we take, on the future we decide to create. Because prophecy is not fate, It is a warning, a chance, an opportunity to change course before it is too late. And time is running out. The clock is ticking. The events are accelerating. And soon, very soon, the choices we make will become permanent. The path we take will be set. And the future Jeane Dixon saw will either be avoided or fulfilled. So what will you choose? What will you do with this knowledge? How will you respond to the prophecy unfolding all around you? These are the questions that will define our time. These are the decisions that will determine our legacy. And these are the moments that will be remembered by future generations as the turning point when everything changed. Jeane Dixon saw it all. She warned us. She gave us the chance to prepare. And now the responsibility is ours. The prophecy is in our hands, and the future is waiting for us to decide. So go out into the world, knowing what you now know. Share this message. Spread the truth. Refuse to accept the narrative of division and hatred. Stand up for what is right. Fight for unity. Demand justice, and never, ever give up hope. Because that is how prophecies are defeated. That is how destinies are changed. That is how the future is won. Not by one person, but by millions choosing to act, choosing to care, choosing to make a difference. Jeane Dixon believed in you. She believed in all of us. She believed that humanity had the power to overcome even the darkest prophecies if we had the courage to try. And now, as her warnings come true all around us, it is time to prove her right. It is time to show that we are capable of rising above division, that we are capable of choosing hope over fear, that we are capable of creating a future worth living in. The prophecy is unfolding. The businessman president is exactly who she warned about. The chaos is real. The danger is present, but the ending is not yet written, and you have the power to change it. So, will you stand and fight? Or will you watch as everything Jeane Dixon predicted comes to pass? The choice, as always, has been yours all along, and the time to choose is now.